It's been 2 years in the making, but finally time for talk is over. It's time to get down to action between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. Hello guys, welcome to Daddy in the Doll. My name's Phil, and in today's video we're going to predict this much anticipated contest between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. We're also going to run through a totally stacked undercard, as there are some fantastic fights on there as well. If you do enjoy this one, please remember to like and subscribe. It does really help out the channel, and we do really appreciate all the support we get. But without further ado, let's get started with the main event. So obviously this fight was supposed to take place 2 years ago, and we all know what happened with Conor Benn failing the drugs test and then subsequently being suspended. It's dragged on and on and on, but we're finally here. I think at the time of the original fight, I was slightly sided towards Conor Benn, more because he was the up-and-coming fighter, a bit more of an unknown, and obviously we'd seen the weaknesses in Chris Eubank Jr. The amount of weight he was potentially having to lose for that fight as well. I know he's fighting at 160 this time, but I think it was it 157, 155 he had to get down to last time, so a little bit more in his favour this time. And again, just seeing a lot of the expert opinions as well, and I have to agree with him that I think Chris Eubank Jr. is just going to be that much heavier naturally. I know there's the rehydration clause in there, but still, if you're Conor Benn and you're that confident, why do you need a rehydration clause in there? So that tells me a little bit as well that Conor Benn's not confident, because if you were that confident, you'll fight at the weight you're meant to fight and have no clause in there. Just as simple as that to me. In terms of Chris being able to make the weight, I think there is a £10 rehydration clause, so he still can hydrate back up to 170, and even then I think he only has to pay a fine if he does go over. So for me, there's no incentive for him to make weight. It's just going to hit him in the pocket. So if he's not comfortable, he's just going to come in a few pounds heavier, and then that's going to give him even more of an advantage when we get into the actual fight itself. In terms of the global audience, it's got a lot of nostalgia around it as well, because you've got guys that are interested in the here and now. They've obviously seen the egg slap. It's got a lot of publicity. It's probably increased pay-per-view ratings, which is what the intention behind that was. And you've also got the fathers. So there'll be a lot of guys that grew up in the late 80s, early 90s, and remember watching their dads fight. So they'll watch it for that reason. You've got the younger audience. So it is going to do great numbers. I think it's sold out the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as well. So looking at great numbers, great live attendance, it's going to be a fantastic night of boxing. And when you're looking into the external factors, so outside of the ring, I think press conferences, even taking out the egg slap, I think Chris Eubank Jr. dominated these press conferences, put Eddie Hearn back in his box, mugged him off with paying the fighters. He's got the upper hand when it's come to the talking. I know you need the dictionary and the thesaurus to understand a lot of the stuff that comes out of his mouth at the best of times, but he is very articulated, very intelligent young man, and has put them on their arse technically in these press conferences. And the egg slap just was the icing on the cake, really. The only bit that sort of made me laugh from Conor Benn was when he charged at Ben Shalom and Ben Shalom shit himself. That was quite funny. But other than that, I think it's all been Chris Eubank. He looks like he's got Conor Benn rattled. All Conor Benn is doing is answering the same thing, just saying, he's an idiot, he's an idiot. That seems to be his go-to answer for everything, where Chris is just calmly composing himself and just picking him apart. And Eddie, he's focused a lot of it on Eddie, but Conor is just coming back very one-dimensional, where Chris has absolutely hammered them during these exchanges. So in terms of the fight itself, I think Conor Benn's going to come out like a man possessed. He's going to be swinging for home runs. He's going to try and knock his head off, where I think Chris will have that bit of savvy about him. He's going to try to control the range and the distance. He's going to try to outbox him, outjab him. And I think he does have the skill set to be able to do that. I think he's going to try to wear Conor Benn down and try to take him deep into the later rounds, where he'll try to get a late stoppage. But I think this could just be a fairly one-sided decision win I think when you look at the guys' resumes, I think if you're going to look at who they fought, everything points to Chris Eubank Jr. He's fought all the better guys. I know he's lost to a few of them, but he's been in there with world-level opponents where Conor Benn hasn't yet. I think regardless of who wins or loses this fight, Conor Benn is the one that can come back from this with a loss, so a loss won't be the end of the world. Where for Chris, I think he needs this. If he doesn't win this one, there's not really much else out there for him. But I'm going to stick to my prediction here and say that Chris Eubank Jr. controls. It'll be a tasty fight because I think Conor will be there to try and do damage. So it'll be about Chris working on the back foot as well and having to avoid some heavy artillery. But I think once he's weathered that storm, he'll come through this fairly comfortable with a fairly wide points decision. I'm going to say unanimous points decision, maybe about 4 rounds in his favour. So we're going to have a look at the undercard, starting with Anthony Yarde versus Lyndon Arthur. And this is actually the third fight of a trilogy. So they first fought during lockdown, no fans, no atmosphere. And it was Lyndon Arthur winning on a split decision. That was avenged not long after, 2 fights after, with a KO win for Anthony Yarde. And I just think both of them have only lost to really good opponents. So I think looking at Yarde's resume, he has fought better opponents in there. So I think it was Kovalev and Beterbiev that have beaten him. And he's not as good as them, so he was always going to lose those. It's only the Lyndon Arthur one that is the blemish on his record that I think he'll put that right by winning this trilogy. And I'm going to say this is going to be a late knockout win for Anthony Yarde. Liam Smith versus Aaron McKenna. This is a really close one, especially with the bookies. They can't really split them. I think they've got McKenna as slight favourite. But for me, it's all going to be down to which version of Liam Smith turns up. If it's the version that flattened Eubank, then he should win. If it's the most recent performance against Eubank, then he's probably going to get turned over again. But with McKenna, yes, he's unbeaten. I know he was supposed to be in contention to go to the Tokyo Olympics, but decided to go pro. I haven't really watched a lot of him, but from scanning his CV, I can't see anyone on there, despite being an unbeaten fighter, that really stands out to me to say, no, this guy's got something about him. Where Liam Smith, seen a lot more of him. Obviously, he's had a lot of the Sky fights, and I just have to go with the eye test on this one and say, although he's the underdog technically, I think he will probably win this fight if he turns up in form. Vidal Riley, Chavon Clark, both guys fairly inexperienced and early in their careers. Obviously, Riley is unbeaten. Clark has tasted defeat. Not really got anyone on either CV of note that stands out that we can sort of look at as a good comparison here. But I think in these situations, you take the unbeaten fighter, and obviously there's a lot more hype around Riley. So I think I'm going to back him to get a knockout win here, but it might just be a points victory where I think he'll win. It won't be tight, but it won't be completely one-sided. I think it's either going to be a knockout or a narrow points victory for Vidal Riley. Finally, Chris Billam-Smith takes on Brandon Glanton, and this started off as a narrow favourite for Billam-Smith, but there's been a lot of noise now, and Glanton's been backed in. So this is a 50-50 fight now with the bookies, where I see it anything but a 50-50 fight. I think this is going to be a fairly comfortable win for Billam-Smith. Both men have lost twice. Billam-Smith's been in with the better fighters, and he's never been chinned. Glanton's been KO'd twice. Hasn't fought anyone. It's all noddies on his CV if you read through it. He's making a lot of noise in his press conferences. He's running his mouth. Chris Billam-Smith, he's a classy, smooth operator. He doesn't get involved in all this crap at press conferences. He turns up with the best man wins on the night attitude, which in general he normally does. He lost to Richard Riekpo first time out on a split decision, avenged that at Selhurst Park, and then he lost to Ramirez. There's no shame whatsoever in losing to Ramirez. So he's going to come back. He always makes it to the end. He's going to outbox this guy, and he's going to win by unanimous points decision. So there we have it, guys. That was my prediction for the big fight and the undercard. Let me know if you agree or disagree on any of those, and we'll try to get back to everyone who comments. thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next video.